This map shows the racial demographics of St. Louis. Black residents are shown in green, white residents are shown in blue, non-white Hispanic residents are shown in yellow, and Asian residents are shown in red, which does not register on this map. What's important to note is that most of the residents north of Del Mar are black, most of the residents south of Del Mar are white. Now let's look at a map of home purchase loan approvals in St. Louis. Where have people been able to get mortgages? It's the same map. So you might be thinking, yeah, a lot of white people are getting mortgages, but maybe black people just aren't applying for mortgages. Well, here's a map of mortgage applications that were denied. It seems that black people and white people are both applying for mortgages to buy homes. White people are being approved and black people are being denied. Why? It might remind you of maps that look like these from the 1920s and 30s, where they took areas that had a lot of non-white and Irish residents and colored them red and said, we won't give any loans for this area. This is redlining and it's extremely illegal. So why is it still happening? Well, the number one reason that black people are being denied mortgages is their credit history, or their lack of credit history. When redlining and restrictive covenants became illegal, it was then illegal to deny someone a mortgage just because of the color of their skin. So they had to have new rules for why they would approve or deny a loan. Credit scoring models started being used in the 50s and they became the law in the 80s. And these credit scoring models create a catch-22 for people who didn't previously use a bank. If you borrow money and pay it back, it builds credit and you can borrow more money. If you have a mortgage or a home loan and you make your mortgage payment, it builds your credit so you can then take out a larger mortgage. Paying rent does not help your credit score. You can pay $1,000 a month in rent for 10 plus years and never miss a payment. But then if you try to get a mortgage to buy the same house that you were renting and your new monthly payment is going to be $800 a month, your credit has not been built. You cannot do it. Those $1,000 a month that you paid don't count as evidence that you can pay $800 a month. So this switch to credit scores made it so that people whose families had already been using the banking system and had already built credit would be able to take out loans, and families that did not interact with banking institutions would not be able to buy a home. So who could buy homes? People who look like me. The first time I had access to credit was when I got a joint bank account with my mom and then got a student credit card that my mom co-signed for. My first credit was credit that I inherited from my mother. Traditionally, banking institutions have not been good to black communities, and the black population in the United States is much less likely to interact with banking institutions. I remember when I lived in North St. Louis County in Normandy, Missouri, we would go to the gas station and we noticed no one pays at the pump. We would be the only ones paying at the pump. Everyone went inside and paid cash, and then it hit us. A lot of the people in that community do not have credit cards. They don't have bank accounts at all. They have no access to credit, which is a concept that me, as a white man that grew up in a small white community, would never even think about. Another legal shift that hurts people who live in impoverished areas is the system of comparables. If you want to buy a house in this neighborhood, you have to show other houses that have sold for that same price in that same neighborhood. Well, if no one in that neighborhood can get a mortgage, there are no comparables. If there are no comparables, you can't get a mortgage. So you might be thinking, wouldn't all of these policies also hurt low-income white communities? Yes. Yes, they do. Impoverished rural white communities were the collateral damage to prevent black people in the cities from buying homes and building wealth. So when I hear people say, well, systemic racism isn't real, I'm white and I'm super poor. Yeah, you got stuck in the crossfire. What can I say? We went from a system designed to ensure black poverty to a system designed to ensure that poor people stay poor. This just disproportionately harms black communities because they are the ones it was designed for. So what are we supposed to do about it? Vote for legislation that requires landlords to submit rental payment histories to credit scoring companies. These companies will include it in their report if they receive it. But a lot of landlords don't report it. You can report it yourself, but it should be them. Talk to your landlord. If they will start submitting that history, you can start building credit without any debt. But we should be pushing for this to be a legal requirement for every rental property. Utility companies should also start reporting your on-time payments. But the other shift that needs to happen is that banks need to care about people more than they care about the value of the property that the people live in. Home buyers should be pre-approved for loans, and they should be able to spend that money in the housing market the way they see fit, wherever they want. I know someone who was pre-approved for a loan in St. Louis, wanted to build a home in North City, and the bank said, you can build it somewhere else, but you can't build it there. They ended up ditching that bank, found a different bank, and now they built their house in North City. But it's important to learn about your local community and what laws are preventing the impoverished population from gaining wealth, and what organization in your community is pushing for more equitable housing policies. What is preventing that organization from succeeding, and what can you do to help?